Tonight, the summer of discontent threatens to halt Scotland's oil and gas production. STV News learns contractors at the country's only crude oil refinery are planning wildcat strikes which could disrupt petrol supplies.
Workers will walk out a week today. I'm live in Grangemouth with an exclusive report.
Also making the headlines, the crisis in the NHS. An emergency consultant tells us he can't think of a day without significant staffing shortages this summer.
Batgirl is canned. The biggest budget picture ever filmed entirely in Glasgow won't be released.
In sport, Rangers Champions League hopes dealt a big blow after a 2-0 defeat in Belgium. I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Hundreds of workers at Grangemouth oil refinery are threatening wildcat strike action next week in a dispute over pay. It could disrupt supplies to petrol stations. Last September, workers agreed to a pay rise of 5% over 2 years, but due to the cost of living crisis, they are now demanding more.
If workers walk out, maintenance at the refinery could be paused and oil and gas production across the country will be affected. Across the UK, thousands of employees working under a national pay agreement are also preparing to take action at other sites. Well, our reporter Courtney Cameron is at Grangemouth for us tonight. And Courtney, this has the potential to cause big problems.
Yes, Kellyanne. Well, around 500 employees from 5 different contractors here at Grangemouth are threatening to go on strike on Wednesday over a pay dispute. Now, the cost of living crisis is hitting us all. Inflation is sitting at around 10%, and these workers are helping to produce oil and gas that is hitting record prices, making big profits for big oil companies. Now, Grangemouth Oil Refinery is the largest in Scotland, and if these strikes were to happen, there could indeed be issues getting petrol and diesel to garages across the country. And of course, Grangemouth is no stranger to an industrial dispute. At the start of this year, tanker drivers walked out in a row over pay. And back in 2013, operations were halted during a dispute between INEOS workers and their employer. Now, contracted maintenance and repair staff are threatening to walk out next week. The workers didn't want to go on camera. This is what they told us.
These companies are making record profits and we're the ones suffering. We are all struggling. All we're asking them to do is get back round the table and reopen discussions.
We helped these companies during the pandemic, working long hours. We were classed as essential workers and even took a pay freeze. We've bent over backwards to do what we can.
This isn't the path we wanted to go down, but we feel like we have no choice now.
Experts say the strikes will have the biggest impact on petrol and diesel.
The longer it lasts, then clearly the bigger the danger, because as we all know, the market for oil is very stretched at the moment, following the war between Russia and Ukraine.
The Scottish Government says it would not be appropriate to comment on pay negotiations, as it's a private company matter. Workers here are just the latest to join what's been dubbed the summer of discontent across the public and private sector as the cost of living crisis deepens.
So, Courtney, is it just one day the workers are threatening to strike?
Well, I'm being told if the issue isn't resolved by next Wednesday, they'll continue to strike every second Wednesday after that until discussions are brought back to the table. Now, of course, STV News has contacted the organisation that is responsible for negotiating the workers' pay, but as of yet, we haven't had a response. But just a reminder again as to why these workers do want a pay rise. One of the workers told me that he would put £50 of petrol in his car and that would last him a whole week, and that's now up to £90. And that's the same petrol that these workers are helping to produce here at Grangemouth.
All right, Courtney, live from Grangemouth. Thanks very much.
Well, the workers at Grangemouth are among hundreds of thousands of others across Scotland looking for a pay deal that helps with the cost of living. Political correspondent Ewan Petrie is here. And Ewan, the Scottish Government met the councils this afternoon.
That's right, and this meeting follows the vote by thousands of workers to strike over a 2% offer from councils. This includes home helps, cleaners, cleansing workers, and this afternoon the Scottish Government met with COSLA, the group that represents Scotland's local authorities, to try to come up with a way to resolve this dispute. Unions are demanding a significantly improved offer, they say. If that's not forthcoming, the strike will go ahead, and that will lead to rubbish piling up in the streets and schools being closed. And they say that thousands of frontline staff who worked throughout the COVID pandemic will be pushed into working poverty.
So how likely are the councils to come up with an offer?
Well, the negotiations are still ongoing. Councils argue that their own budgets have been cut, so any improvement to the offer will require more money from the Scottish Government or cuts to their own services. I expect more money will be found. The Scottish Government is looking at up to £300 million, but says COSLA will have to come up with some of that figure. The question will be whether that will be enough to stop these strikes going ahead.
OK, Ewan, thank you.
An emergency consultant says he can't think of a day when there haven't been significant staffing shortages this summer. NHS Lanarkshire's 3 acute hospitals are operating at their highest risk levels, but staff warn that their colleagues on other health boards are facing similar challenges. As emergency waiting times hit their second highest level on record, Kay Nicholson has been visiting the A&E department at Monklands Hospital.
Medical handover recess.
There's no such thing as a summer break for this unit at Monklands in Airdrie. Staff absences are adding to the strain. Combine that with an increase in A&E patients and pressures in other departments.
If the hospital is full, then that kind of blockage just backs down to A&E. So even if we're dealing with our patients really efficiently and quickly, there actually is physically no space to see people. I can't think of a day over the last 3 months that there's not been significant staffing challenges. The reason we come to work is to do our best for patients. And there's never an occasion where we are happy with patients having to wait or not provide the service that we would like to. It's just busyness, and it's just dealing with the sickest patients first.
In the latest waiting time figures for the third week of July, there were 25,000 visits to Scottish A&Es, but more than 1,000 people waited more than 12 hours to be seen. That's the second highest level on record, despite a target to see people within 4 hours. Here at Monklands, just half were seen within that time. It's been so busy in recent weeks that staff have had to adapt to cope with the number of patients turning up. This minor injuries unit has been used as an overspill for A&E so that more beds can be made available for those most in need. All of Scotland's health boards are feeling the pressure. In Glasgow today, people had mixed views.
They sent me for an x-ray after I'd waited maybe about 4 hours. They came back to put me in the bay and they put somebody else in it. So I literally signed myself out.
We've had a really good experience, I have to say. The hospital were very good and she was seen really quickly.
My friend who came in a wee past Monday was in here approximately 7 hours in the A&E, lying on a trolley. You know, now comes a broken back.
My mother was here not that long ago and she's 95. She did have quite a bit of a wait, but because it wasn't a life-threatening injury, we understood.
And the impact all of this is having on elderly people is a key concern.
Folks have been maybe going to A&E as a last resort, but really don't want to bother anybody. But they found that they can't get doctor's appointment, they can't get the medical attention. To go into pharmacies maybe aren't working for them. You know, video calls don't work as well as they can. So they need to go to A&E, but when they get there, there are long queues. Fear, will I be seen? If I'm in, how long will I be here? Will I get COVID?
The Scottish Government says A&Es here are outperforming those in England and Wales, and that it's investing £50 million to push down waiting times. Those on the front line, though, have a stark message for patients.
If you don't have to come, please don't.
Kay Nicholson, STV News, Airdrie.
Batgirl took over Glasgow when the Hollywood movie filmed in the city earlier this year, but now it's been axed by Warner Brothers after, it appears, preview screenings with audiences didn't go well. Film fans and tourists alike were made up when the production took over in January, but some local businesses weren't so keen. Vanessa Taff reports.
All the glitz and glamour of the lights and cameras, Batgirl fans were thrilled Gotham landed on their doorsteps.
I was near this place and seeing like my city turned into Gotham City is very exciting.
I think it's great for the economy, it's great for Glasgow, it's great for the profile of Scotland in Glasgow.
But now there's no action, as the upcoming release has been axed. So too have the hopes that it would bring millions to the city.
It became a spectator event, people coming into the city to see the filming being done.
But they're not now going to see the film. Glasgow's not going to get that showcase that was promised and that the council put money behind.
The grant that was agreed was to bring the filming to Glasgow, and that filming took place in Glasgow. All of the economic benefits that and crucially the jobs benefits and the career benefits for people with broadcast technical skills living and working in Scotland all came and happened in the city.
These streets were transformed into Gotham, but businesses paid the price. They were closed for weeks, lost vital hours of trading and felt that they weren't adequately compensated. Now they say it was all for nothing.
I feel it's a slap in the face to the people at the council. I feel which in turn is a slap in the face to us. A lot of sacrifice went into that kind of month's filming, and we get zero out of it. We're still getting zero out of it. I just hope maybe in the next time round the council kind of get their house in order.
Warner Brothers spent close to £60 million on the production. The Hollywood rumour mill suggests the film would be a flop if released, and test screenings haven't gone well. Batgirl fans on social media today have called for the film's release in the hopes it might save the franchise. But it looks like that's a wrap on Glasgow's big screen moment. Vanessa Taff, STV News, Glasgow.
On to other stories across Scotland now, and a man's been jailed for 6 years for killing a grandfather by pushing him down a flight of stairs at Edinburgh's Haymarket railway station. Mark McKinley attacked Donald Maguire in February 2020, causing the 58-year-old to fall and hit his head. At the High Court in Edinburgh, the 38-year-old also pleaded guilty to assaulting Donald's son Brian, causing severe injury.
A 29-year-old man has been found guilty of killing a stranger by picking her up and then pushing her off Ellenborough Pier. Charmaine O'Donnell drowned in April last year. Jason Foster was found guilty of culpable homicide after denying murder.
And a bin lorry in Kirkcaldy caught fire and was forced to empty its rubbish outside a police station in the town. Emergency services were called around 9 this morning. No one was injured. Now, young people across Scotland who look after loved ones are enjoying a well-deserved break at the Scottish Young Carers Festival.
The 3-day event, funded by the Scottish Government, gives the group the chance to take part in dozens of new activities, from abseiling to mindfulness, with others in similar situations. Vanessa Kennedy reports.
For many young people, the summer holidays are a chance to unwind and relax. But for young carers, their responsibilities never end. Nathan is just 11, but he's already caring for his sister, who has ADHD and Tourette's.
When they have ADHD or any disability, they get angry and sometimes moan and shout. So sometimes I have to get a break.
This 3-day festival near Dunfermline is a chance for hundreds of other young carers like Nathan to enjoy a range of activities. It's given Ruth the chance to have a go at filmmaking, a well-deserved respite from caring for her dad, who has muscular dystrophy.
Stuff like helping my dad eat and making him drinks and stuff, but also stuff with his mental health. Sometimes it kind of gets to the point where I feel like I need a break, rather than just wanting to have one. If you're just always in the house, then you're still able to help do stuff, which I don't mind doing, but sometimes I think you need that break so you can come back and be a better carer.
And for many, emotional support is also a big part of the job.
My father, sometimes he gets paresthesia as well, so I need to stay with him, and he gets panic attacks with those as well, because it's quite scary for him, so I have to stay and kind of calm him down, and that can happen during any time, so in the middle of the night, when I'm in school, so I need to always be there for him. Having a break is really important because it's really mentally stressful for you.
The event activities include climbing, camping, and there's a chance to get festival ready. There's also a space to talk to professionals for support, as well as enjoying some much-needed TLC.
Just having a chance to have a bit of respite and have a break for yourself is something that a lot of young carers have told us that they struggle with. Isolation's been a really big thing during the pandemic as well. All of that together has a real impact on young people's mental health.
With this 3-day break being fully funded by the Scottish Government, it's hoped it will give these youngsters a rare opportunity to put aside their responsibilities and simply enjoy being young. Vanessa Kennedy, STV News.
There's 1 year to go until cyclists from the world of BMX, road, mountain and more come to Glasgow for the first UCI World Championships. It's the biggest cycling event ever and will take place all over Scotland next August.
It's 13 World Championships in one. So from mountain bike to track to road, it's a range of cycling disciplines. So there'll be a really great buzz in Glasgow next year. Where we're standing here today will be the finish of the road race and of the road races, because there's more than one road race. So and it will be a hive of activity, and you'll get to see the world's best.
Bypasses actually watching and things like that can actually be a big thing for the sport. Because like I said, I wasn't interested in bikes, and then I seen someone doing it and I was hooked. So hopefully it'll do the same for a lot of people here.
Calmac have cancelled all sailings on the normal Skye to Harris and North Uist crossings after the vessels suffered another technical fault. It's the second time in less than a week that the Hebrides has been withdrawn from service due to issues with its firefighting system.
We've had to replan everything, so the logistics have went out, and we've basically had to go Ullapool, Stornoway and then down that way. Just can't get availability in the ferries.
I was an hour and a half trying to get through to them on the phone, and then once I got through, I think I was another hour and a half before we managed to, find the fact that they're going to refund me for last week. And then I said, well, what about all the other trips which are also a week out?
OK, now here's Raman with the sport.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Good evening. Giovanni van Bronckhorst admits Rangers were fortunate to lose just 2-0 to Union Saint-Gilloise in their Champions League qualifier last night, and says big improvements are needed for the second leg next week. Last season's Europa League finalists produced a below-par performance against their Belgium opponents and have it all to do at Ibrox. Every picture tells a story, and the story of last night was a lacklustre display from the Rangers players. Giovanni van Bronckhorst didn't miss with his assessment of his team's performance.
We didn't do anything with our ball position and we're sloppy, losing a lot of balls, not winning the duels, and slowly they became better and better. We were never really in the game, many mistakes, giving a lot of transition moments away defensively, and we're a little bit lucky that it's only 2-0.
Yet, Rangers got off to an assured start. Borna Barisic forced the Union keeper into an early save. A warning sign for the visitors came midway through the first half when the hosts threatened John McLaughlin's goal. While off target then, a minute later, this happened.
It's Tumar, and the opening goal for Union.
20 minutes into the second half, and they came close to doubling that advantage. McLaughlin saving not once, but twice. This block from Connor Goldson took place during that attack. Cue VAR. After reviewing the incident, the referee awarded a penalty, and in controversial circumstances, the Belgium side were 2 up. They would have been 3 goals to the good, but for another McLaughlin save, and this goal line clearance from James Tavernier. One former Rangers player expects changes for the second leg.
Tom Lawrence, I think, is a player that could definitely come back in. The midfield 3, maybe Tillman going maybe more into that central role, the position he came on and impacted the game so well against Livingston in the second half on Saturday. So I mean, Giovanni will pick that. I would expect him to go back to a back four. That's one thing I would say. So whether it's you're going to get to see maybe if Suter, if he's back fit, coming back into the team, or Davis. I mean, Davis has been spending a lot of money, as has Yilmaz at left back. So there could be a different left side to the defence.
To golf, and Women's Open winner Georgia Hall says Muirfield hosting the tournament for the first time will make a mark on the game this week. The Gulling course was removed as a men's open host when members refused women the right to join the club. But after reversing their position, it will now finally open its doors to the world's top female players.
I'm lucky enough I haven't really had that issue growing up. But I think it's so important that the women are here this week. It makes such a mark on women's golf, and AIG and RNA have done a fantastic job working together to get the championship here, and it just keeps elevating this tournament and what is needed with the increased prize funds over the last couple of years.
And that is all your sport tonight, folks. I'll see you again tomorrow.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Now Sean is here with the weather forecast.
Well, low pressure is going to remain fairly close by in the next couple of days, which means we hang on to showery conditions. You can see the wind arrows starting to come in from the northwest, and that will start to draw in cooler air, something I've not talked about for a wee while. Temperatures widely into single figures by night later on in the week, but there will be quite a big recovery in those temperatures as we head into next week. Let's look at the forecast.
Watch out for a sudden temperature drop. TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
We'll take a closer look at the temperatures over the next couple of days in a wee while, because there's going to be a bit of a roller coaster, a bit of a dip over the next few days before we start to see a recovery into next week. Now, many of us have ended the day on a dry note, sunny spells, but showers will return across the Highlands, also Argyll, Stirlingshire later on, also across Ayrshire, and temperatures in some spots north of the Central Belt down to lows of 8 or 9 degrees. First signs of that cooler air starting to come in. Now, we've got lots of showers around tomorrow, but for central and southern parts, a lot of dry weather, sunshine to start the day. The most frequent showers across the Highlands, Argyll, Stirlingshire, but then through the day we'll see those showers spreading a wee bit further south and east, but still some decent sunny spells around. Temperatures not as high as they've been over the last couple of days. That slight downward trend, 14, 15 degrees in the afternoon, rising up to 17 degrees a little bit further east. Now, we will see a few showers around over the next couple of days, Friday and also Saturday. Predominantly the further northwest we go, a lot of dry and bright weather elsewhere, and daytime temperatures down to about 15 or 16 degrees. Having a look at North Lanarkshire, you can see that big dip. This is including Glasgow as well. This big dip in the next couple of days, rather chilly nights, Friday, Saturday night into single figures, and then we see a recovery back into the 20s. Perhaps some very warm weather developing later on next week once again. Also in Argyll, we see that dip in the next few days to fresher air, then warmer next week.
TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
And finally, it's just 2 days to go until the Edinburgh Fringe returns for the first full festival in 3 years.
There are new venues, more than 3,000 shows and over 400,000 visitors expected. Polly Bartlett's been taking a look at what's to come.
For performers and visitors, the journey to the Edinburgh Fringe is almost over.
I've known about the Fringe all my life, but I've never really come up, so this was a great opportunity, so I'm so excited to just see all the different kinds of things. There's comedy and everything.
The last one was fantastic, and this year I hope it's going to be more better.
You can see the really weird stuff, but you can also see all your kind of favourite big comedians. So yeah, I think it's a wonderful blend of stuff you can't really get any other time of the year.
We're going to go and see Basil Brush because I haven't seen him before and I've heard he's very funny with his jokes. What does he say after he laughs? Boom, boom!
New venues are appearing across the city, including in a carpentry studio and a knitting shop. This garden will be transformed into a hub for international performers who weren't able to make it last year.
It's really nice at the moment to walk into the street and run into fellow Australians who are here to perform again. And everyone's pretty excited because it has been a bit of a big break between drinks, that's for sure.
As usual, the spotlight will be shining on homegrown talent too.
Can I tell you how excited I am? I think you can see how excited I am. Honestly, it's been such a wait. I know we had a sort of Fringe last year, and that was great. It felt quite grassroots, but this year just feels incredible. It's a combination of so many different art forms, just a great atmosphere, and Edinburgh comes alive. It's beautiful all year round, but it's quite sedate the another 11 months of the year, and for 1 month we go a little bit crazy.
It already feels busy here in Edinburgh city centre, but with more than 1 million tickets expected to be sold, it's only going to get busier. 3,171 shows from 56 countries are taking place, and that's just for the Fringe. The Edinburgh International Festival is taking place too.
The return to a full festival as we would have known and loved it back in 2019. Here at Murrayfield we will be presenting our opening event, an incredible physical theatre work for 16,000 people, and then 3 weeks of, I hope, unforgettable music, theatre, dance, opera and everything else.
With just 2 days to go, everyone involved hopes this year the festival will bounce back from COVID and reach dizzying new heights. Polly Bartlett, STV News, Edinburgh.
So what do you think of the Fringe, John?
Long time since I've ever thought of a Fringe, Kellyanne. Thanks for bringing it up. That's all for us.
I'm saying nothing.
Good night.
Good night.